Hi, I'm Steve the INTP, and this is my wife Renee. Um, on this channel, I talk about being an INTP. My first video was my reaction to getting my typing results from Objective Personality, where they validated that I am an INTP or FFTINECPBS in their full description. We had Renee submitted for typing as well, and we're going to talk about the results she got as well as the journey
The
leading up
journey.
to the typing.
Yeah, so as some of you might know, watching some of Steve's videos and also some of my interactions, like in the Facebook group and stuff, we've been sort of covering up my real MBTI
Missing
OP results,
missing information.
missing information, because we were chewing on it, trying to figure it out. And we're going to finally talk about it today, so that's fun. So we're going to start from the very beginning,
Yes,
right, Steve?
we're going to start from the very beginning because we have different sort of histories with typology. Um, I was typed at 12 years old by my mother, who was really into typology, and uh, had Please Understand Me Too by David Kiersey. And when I was 12, she's like, okay, you're finally old enough that your personality is developed. Take this test. So I got typed as an INTP very early in life. I've thought of myself as an INTP. That's been a part of my self-concept longer than it hasn't been. Whereas Renee, for you, MBTI is something you came along more recently in life, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just one of those people who has fun taking personality tests, whether they're, what's your spirit animal or MBTI. So I never took it particularly seriously. I think I came across it in high school, and I got the result that many people get on 16 personalities, which is INFJ. And I was like, sure, fine, that makes sense. A lot of the descriptions on those tests sound like um, basic horoscopy type stuff, and I was like, I am a deep thinker or whatever. So I always kind of identified as that, but not seriously. And then Steve came along, and uh,
Well, before I came along, I think you took the test or took other versions of the test where you got other results
yeah,
at
I
different
get other
times.
results. So I was actually thinking about this more. And I almost always was split on everything except intuitive. I was always like off the charts intuitive, not sensory, but like introverted and extroverted was almost always split in the middle with like slightly introverted. And then the J and P, I almost was always split with a little bit of the judge, and then what the heck is the last one?
I and E,
I
S
said
and
that.
N, S and N, T and F,
T and F. Yeah, T and
J
F
and J.
I like sometimes would get exactly 50%.
Mm.
Um and so later
We are
I
talking about MBTI tests
MBTI.
here, not cognitive functions yet.
Yeah, and so I pretty much always split, and throughout my life I enjoy random tests about me because it's fun to think about stuff like that. And I've gotten ENFP, I've gotten INTJ. I have once I met Steve and was like hanging around him more, I got INTP, but then I just was like, oh, these are the things I'm thinking about because I'm with him all the time. But more consistently I got INFJ. And
Yeah, and
yeah.
so then when we became a couple, I think about cognitive functions in Myers-Briggs too much. Um, and I think it was sort of shortly after we became a couple that I went from just being in a Facebook group dedicated to INTPs to then finding out about the cognitive functions and reading up about them from various places online, and then finding objective personalities videos. First, the ones that just Dave did with just diagrams that were very yelly, But they made some sense,
Yeah.
and they added dimension that the MBTI doesn't necessarily account for. Some might say where the MBTI oversimplified from Jung's original work. Um,
I think initially you kind of found the function stack
yeah,
stuff, even separate from the OP things, and
yeah,
that's when we were kind of started to settle into what we thought that we were,
yeah.
because we kept on flipping back and forth about stuff. I know,
So for me, it was I'd been typed an INTP for a very long time. I learned about the cognitive functions, and I said, yeah, it does still make sense that I'm an INTP. And then I got typing results from objective personality that confirmed,
mm,
yes, you are an INTP. You're this exact specific type of INTP. When we divide it by 512 types instead of just 16. Whereas for you, you kind of had different MBTI results, but usually INFJ. And then when we started talking about cognitive functions together, it made a lot of sense, our interactions. It just felt like it made sense that I was an INTP and you were an INFJ. The
yeah.
way that our personalities worked together, that seemed to make a lot of sense. And we discovered that there's actually that's when we discovered things like the rarity of the INFJ, which we didn't know was a thing. We didn't know
You
that
didn't know that
like
was a thing. I did.
you were kind of aware of
Yeah,
it
I kind of.
from your BuzzFeed
I mean,
quizzes.
I'm one of those people who's like, I'm special. So,
Yeah, I wasn't aware of it. I was coming up with all these reasons why it made total sense why she was an
yeah.
INFJ and I was an INTP. That made sense
And
together,
you're more of the one that
but I
dug
wasn't
dug
aware.
into it too.
But then we found on the internet that there was this that we don't know who came up with the term golden pair, but there are people on the internet who are attached to this idea that INTPs and INFJs are have this golden relationship together, where they really work well together. And there are some reasons for that. There's that the INTPs lead introverted thinking, serves as sort of like a model for the INFJ's tertiary introverted thinking. So it kind of takes something the INFJ wants to be good at but isn't that great at, and the INTP gives a clear example of how to do that. And the other side of it is that the INTP has inferior extroverted feeling, 4FE, like not good with other people's feelings, makes me nervous. Um, and an
And
INFJ has auxiliary extroverted feeling, and so is better at doing that and can serve as like an example to the INTP of here's how you do this.
isn't the INFJ like label counselor or something? I don't
That's a
remember.
nickname that's often given. And then other areas that also made sense, that seem to make sense for us, is that the INFJ has lead introverted intuition, 1NI, so always going deeper and deeper into the theme, the idea, the abstract, going ever deeper in one direction. And the INTP has auxiliary extroverted intuition, 2NE, so going always outward and looking for more and more abstract ideas. And that kind of seemed to fit the way that we talk, that I'd be like bouncing all over the place, and Renee would be like, but this is the important idea. And then I'd be bouncing all over the place around that, and then she'd be like, yes, but further in, and then I'd go around that.
Yeah.
And that would and that sounded like the way we make conversation together. Then also on the flip side, there's the INFJ with inferior extroverted sensing, for SE, kind of just things pop up and they're frustrating. Real things in reality pop up and it's hard to deal with them. And then the INTP has tertiary introverted sensing, 3SI, where it's like, okay, I can organize material things, but it's not fun, but I can do it. And we kind of felt that
Yeah.
at points in our relationship, the things
We
like,
tend to have things or issues or bickerings about sensory
yeah,
stuff, or we both are just kind of clumsy about it. I don't know how to explain it.
yeah, I think, yeah, where there is friction in our relationship, because there's friction in every
Yeah.
relationship, especially good ones. Uh, where there's friction in our relationship, it's Renee has random stuff popping up that now Steve has to deal with, and Steve wants less material
And
stuff
you
to deal
need
with.
SI soothing, and I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know how to
I'm
do,
like,
I
I would
don't know how
like,
to help you.
yeah, I'm like, I would like the same things. I would like to watch a TV show I already like, and I would like to eat a food I already like, and have no extra noises and no other things to do. And
And I want to spontaneously do some random new sensory thing, but
yeah,
need like a push to do it. And I'm like, why aren't you pushing me to have fun?
yeah.
And
Why
it's
can't we
like,
try on a new outfit and go outside and meet new people and try a new thing? Oh no, it's
yeah.
all too overwhelming.
But when it boils down to it, the NINE concept made the most sense because
Yeah,
we will talk about ideas and like solidify them forever. Like we just constantly are like, what giant project idea thing, business idea can we accomplish? And we're
yeah.
like, we don't have time.
And it
And now
start
we're here doing this. So,
exactly. And it's like me spinning out on any, here's all these ideas of how this thing could work, and Renee saying like, well, this piece of it, if we microscope in on this piece, and then you go, oh, if we microscope in on that piece, then all these ideas, and then Renee going, yes, but if you microscope in on this piece. So we related a lot to that. That made a lot of sense.
mhm.
But in looking at typing, we know that Dave and Shan of Objective Personality say that people type themselves upside down a lot. People identify more with their struggles than they do with their better abilities that they're just taking for granted because that's just what everybody
That
does,
would be an
right?
ESFP, right? If I was upside down, if I was a
If you were an
INFJ.
INFJ upside
No,
down,
that's not
you
right.
would be an ESTP if you were
ESTP.
exactly upside down. But there's different ways you can be upside down. You might be right about some things. You might have certain things the right way around and have other things upside down,
Yeah.
which is why they say you need that outside perspective from them. So you got plenty of outside perspective because, of course, when you submit to Objective Personality, they batch it in a month. They take submissions and then they get back to you a month later. So during that time, we were part of a Facebook group that's dedicated to Objective Personality, people talking about their results and uh, just talking about it. It's interesting stuff to talk about. And so there was a typing pool, kind of students of this objective personality typing system
Yeah,
who
so
like to have practice. So when people say they've submitted for typing uh, to get typed by Dave and Shan, people in this typing pool reach out and they say, hey, would you go on video for us or show us your typing video so that we can get practice? So you
yeah, so if
were approached by
anything,
them.
Steve really came from the point of view that I was like super INFJ. I've always been, I mean, I've always identified with it, and we have tons of conversations with the assumption that I am. But I think I was open to like different possibilities about myself more
Yeah.
than you.
Well, I think you were open to different possibilities, but at the same time being like, yes, I'm deeper than your categorization sounds a lot like lead introvert and intuition. Like that's something that someone with one and I would say.
Oh, I guess. But so this typing group approached me, and I did two different interviews with them, and I got 28 people who watched my videos. Wow, thanks. That's a lot of people
And
sitting
there
through me.
and we
Um,
don't know exactly how long all of them have been part of it, but there were some who were part of that typing group for like
yeah,
more
tons of
than a
time.
year, sometimes more than 2 years. Maybe there were some who came on and only had like weeks of experience, but a lot of these people are people who are consistently trying to match Dave and Shan on a regular basis. How often they match Dave and Shan, nobody has the inter-rater reliability that Dave and Shan have with each other. They have over
Yeah.
90% with each other. I don't know that anyone in the typing community has that much inter-rater reliability with them.
But
Um,
the surprising thing about the typing group was their results were pretty different from what Steve thought.
mm,
Um, the consistent things that I saw was there was more like lead FEs. I would get a lot of them put FE as my first or second function, and a lot of people tended to put OI, but it was more sensory. So their results, the things that were reflected that they thought that I was a lot of there was a lot of ISFJs seemed to be the biggest. There was a lot of SF in general. Um, and I was pretty split on observer decider, which was interesting to me.
yeah, people had
Because
trouble figuring out were you more freaked out by things or more freaked out by people?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I that's one thing I see myself super freaked out by things.
Mm.
and not freaked out by people. And now I'm very confused about it based on the pool of people because I'm like,
Yeah.
I trust you all to like see me more honestly than I see myself. But
And there
anyway,
was a fair bit of consume last too, right?
there was a lot of consume last. I think there was a lot of blast, but
Mm.
I don't remember
There
the
was a fair
animals.
bit
There
of,
seemed to be more
yeah,
disagreement on that. I think it, yeah,
but there's a lot of IJ or EJ.
a lot of IJ, EJ, and the thing that I got out of the typing group was things that I'm not. The
Yeah.
things that I seemed like I wasn't was oh, I think I was
Yeah, so
only
not really NT. Only 2 out of 28 people thought that you were NT.
yeah, only 2 out of 28 thought I was NT. Um,
Also, only 2 out of 28 thought you were IP.
that's what I was reading. Okay.
So whether it's INTP, ISTP, ISFP, any type of IP, they didn't really see that for you as much as they did IGA
Yeah.
or
And I
EJ.
got a handful of EPs. I got 7 out of 28. But
Mm.
for the most part, it looked like EJ, IJ with tended to be DEOI in the front
Yeah.
and party in the back. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry.
With
Okay.
consume last.
With consume
Consume is
last.
the party, play is the party.
I don't know. I don't know. So, we ended up, expecting that to sort of be in the realm. That's what's important too,
Mm.
is the typing group almost across the board thought I was SINE. There were
Mm.
very few NISEs, so that was kind of a surprise for us. So I was expecting, like, I thought I was NF, I'm probably SF, and I'm probably, um, uh, yeah, I'm probably on the SINE scale, and I just was seeing it differently, and then I just started to mistrust everything my husband ever thought of me.
There definitely was a lot of FETI access though, not
Yeah,
very much FITE access.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we were and so based on that, we were prepared for a lot of different results. We were like, okay, maybe Renee is an ISFJ,
Yeah.
maybe the masculine feminine aspect that Dave and Shan add to the functions, maybe that affects how
Oh,
how it's expressed in a different way than what we expected when we were just thinking of cognitive functions without that
yeah.
dimension to them.
I did almost across the board get feminine sensory, and that was
Mm.
like, yeah. And then, like, that to me is really
Which was
pretty,
also our guess, even when we were thinking, when we went
yeah,
from thinking INFJ to thinking like, yes, NIFE. So then we started thinking, well, probably you're probably the 4SE is what's feminine. So we were thinking that. So then we
yeah,
went from, okay, if that's feminine to maybe it's 1SI that's feminine. Is that possible?
yeah. I was very split on,
We thought you might be an ESFJ, which is kind of a softer version of your mother.
oh, yeah. I was expecting to be what I thought my mom is, um, ESFJ. So, the reveal.
The reveal.
So this is what happened. I want to tell the
Mhm.
process. So what happened is we opened the document. This was the day. Everyone knows it's like getting a birthday present, and it was actually around my birthday. So we open the document and we start going down the list.
The document that Dave and Shan send you in your results by email.
Yes. And as we went through, it was starting to look a lot like him.
We
And
thought they might have sent us the
we
wrong
thought that
document.
they sent us the wrong document, so we double checked that we had like opened the right email. We we checked that my name was actually at the top and that they signed my name in the email. And what happened is I was the exact same type as Steve. Everything. TINE, consume, play, blast, sleep,
Double
double
feminine.
feminine. Jinx. See, we are the same. And we were expecting a lot of things,
Yeah.
but this to us made no sense. And like the video, we were both
We
like,
tried to record a
we both were
video.
so genuinely surprised that I was like, I like got anxious about it when
Yeah,
we were
we
recording it.
tried to record a reaction video, but the energy in it is real weird
It's
because then when
really
we're like,
weird.
wait, is this a prank? Wait,
And
they think
like,
we're exactly the same. It was just a weird icky feeling.
Yeah, and I would like to think that I'm pretty open to like considering a lot of stuff. But we've been talking about OP stuff and what he is
Yeah,
for so long. The fact that there's so much about Steve that I don't relate to, it
yeah,
just didn't click. Like, and I was like, okay, maybe we're super wrong. So I definitely emailed Dave and Shan back being like, what? And the thing is it wasn't that I um thought that the things that they were saying I wasn't good at, I thought I was the best at.
yeah.
I mean,
You weren't
I
like,
do think I'm
those
good
are
at
my
those
fears
things.
and I'm afraid of them.
The
You were
thing that
like,
I
that
dis
doesn't sound like me.
the thing that I disagreed with was like they were telling me that my strengths were lead masculine TI, which I've watched him for 3 years use his lead masculine TI, and it's aggressive, and he is so determined to relay the correct information. And that is like so unimportant to me. Um, and that's what was confusing is I was like, okay, I can see myself being really resistant to what they're considering my weaknesses to be, but I'm not taking on board that these are even possible strengths of mine. Like
Yeah.
these are the things I think that I struggle with. I don't know. Maybe that's how everyone feels who's typed upside down. I really don't know.
Well, and we can get more into the specific things that Renee related to or didn't relate to. But we did this thing that in the community is sometimes called trying on the hat, where Renee kind of sat with the results for, well, we both sat with the results for a month, like trying to look at things and being like, okay, are we just not looking at Renee right? Um, which other people in the community have expressed having to do. But it's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to do with someone of that exact type who you live with,
Yeah.
who identifies very strongly with that type, and then being like,
And the fact that he typed himself so correctly and being inside yourself and getting your type right is, to me, seems harder to
mm,
achieve than someone you live with every day and getting their type completely wrong and not seeing that they are you.
yeah. On the one hand, I was like, okay, being INTP, I have the TISI loop, which supposedly gives INTPs a very accurate view of themselves. So I was like, okay, maybe I have a very accurate view of myself, but not a very accurate view of people outside of me, including my wife. Maybe, maybe. But we tried to think about it for a month, and we just kept finding ourselves joking, saying, "Oh, you know why you're doing that? Because you're an INTP," at things that just didn't
Yeah.
seem like an INTP at all.
Yeah,
Um,
that is true. We've been joking. We're still joking about that. I'm like, I'm exactly like you, in moments that we just seem so opposite. I think it's important to backtrack a little and say that some of the stuff that Dave and Shan said, without like telling you everything they said, because it's fine. Um, they talked about a lot of what they weren't seeing, and the biggest thing
yeah.
in that was that we asked them specifically, do you see a decider freak out?
Mhm.
And they said no. And they also said that they didn't see an observer freak out. And that to me is sort of like the ticket into the biggest insight about a type that someone gets.
Yeah, the
And so that
clearest way
was
to see
really
someone's type
confusing.
is what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest problem? What's the thing you freak out the most? And they weren't really seeing either big freak out for you.
Yeah, maybe I'm just have no problems.
Yep.
Uh, no
So we
problems.
so we tried on the hat. We got
We watched
assessed by Dave and
videos.
Shan. We watched other people who were the same type looking for connections, and we just still saw differences. So we can talk about some of those differences. One you talked about was the lead TI, the one TI, and in my life we see that very clearly. I want to make internal logic happen, even when I'm not aware I'm doing that. I
Yeah.
clobber people with it, as is sometimes said of the lead function,
And
that you
we,
just kind of clobber people with it. And we certainly see that in my life that people are like, Steve has to argue about that. Steve has to like make sure everything is just so and
yeah.
so precise. And people don't say that about
No.
you.
Yeah, like immovable is definitely not a
Yeah.
word that I would use to describe myself.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna say something else, but I don't remember what it was. Feminine sensory.
Feminine
That's
sensory.
you blame. I think everyone blames all of their problems on feminine sensory.
Right.
I'm also going off the trail. See, Steve wanted to list out stuff so it all made sense. If this was up to me, I'm pretty sure I would go all over the place because I don't care if things have an order. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an INTP and I'm just a free loving INTP, and I don't mind if everything is incorrect. True, false, whatever.
Renee is sharing that observation with you because you might not have known that observation.
I don't know.
Draw from that what
Maybe they don't,
conclusions
because
you
I
will.
do seem very organized. I think, and like organized isn't the right word for.
Hmm.
See, I don't care, but um,
Another thing you didn't relate to is FE alienation, I'll call it. I've been part of a lot of different groups in my life, school groups, church groups, theater groups, clubs, workplace groups. And no matter how accepted I am in the group, no matter how integral I am to the group, sometimes I'm even in charge of the group or I'm one of the like key people holding the group together who they regularly express appreciation about. And I still think everyone secretly hates me. I'm still like, now is when I'm going to find out that they've secretly been angry at me the whole time and want to get rid of me,
yeah, I think
no
one of
matter
the
what. And I don't know that you've ever expressed feeling that.
No, I don't think so. Like, there's been times in my life where I've been around people who I feel don't understand me, but I'm
Mhm.
not worried that they're going to cast me out.
Yeah.
I'm just worried that, like, I'm doing something wrong, that it's like
Yeah.
me who is, I'm not being clear enough. I'm very concerned about being clear a lot of the time. Um, but one of the things I thought was really enlightening, that we talked about yesterday, sort of brainstorming what we were going to do in this video is you saying that when things go wrong, you tend to blame others. Is that's not exactly
I
what you
get
said.
mad at other
You
people.
get mad at other people. I never get mad at other people to
Yeah.
a fault. Like I will let people walk all over me and completely forget about myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for me, the big problem is other people didn't do things right.
yeah.
That's usually, whenever anything goes wrong, that's usually it's other people didn't do things right. They didn't follow the system. They didn't set me up in a position where I could do something well. I do take responsibility for
Yeah,
problems,
of course.
but often I'm like, I have to take responsibility for this because other people didn't work together well enough. And that's not how you
No.
approach it. You're like, those people were kind of dumb because they're people.
Yeah,
That's just how
and
people
I will
are.
trust people again and again a lot of the time when I might need to push them away.
Mm.
Um, do you want to guide us? Because I will jump to a different bullet point that is not the next one.
No, I think that covers the FE
Yeah.
alienation, fear of rejection, that like, or just annoyance at people, feelings about people that I relate to a lot to in INTPs, and you don't really relate to. Another aspect of uh, INTPs that really resonates for me is the third function, the tertiary function, is sometimes called the hobby function. And when you learn to use that hobby function, you can see drastic improvement in life. This is kind of a pattern that we see, that people kind of realize their demons and go, "Whoa, this is why things are wrong in my life." And then when people get their third function on track is when they start to kind of be adults and be able to really improve in life. And for me, that happened with SI. When I started having a very regular sleep schedule, when I started working out regularly, when I started keeping regular diet, and when I started scheduling my social activities very clearly and even having an SI plan for like, I'm going to say this to this many people. I'm going to say hello to this many people. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna compliment someone on their clothes once a week. Like simple things like that. When I had these ridiculously simple SI plans, my life got like way better. Like I I I I excelled at work. I
Yeah.
started dating more, and I met Renee, and our relationship went very well. And in the theater community that we were part of, I started seeing more results from my work. So just when I put in that hobby function, things really came together for me. For you, Renee, I think when you have applied SI stuff, it it hasn't necessarily like you haven't been like my life is so much
I
easier
don't
for
have much
this.
to say about it
Yeah,
because I don't really relate to it. Like if anything, I've always been kind of hyper responsible about like all the things that you just listed.
yeah,
I mean, I kind of had to get into an exercise routine, but that's more like I was an adult and then I had to like find a way to exercise as opposed to like when you just move when you're young.
Well, I've seen you do a few
And
things
I
in your
eat
life
really
that are,
regularly and go to bed at the same time and
that's true. I've seen you do a few things in your life that are very clearly SI, like focusing on, uh, like focusing on the regular exercises that you do, like developing email templates for theater projects for communicating with people. And I feel like for you, it isn't like, wow, this makes my life simpler because there's less stuff to deal with. I find that for you, it's like, okay, we solved that thing, and now here's another material sensory thing for me to deal with right around the corner from that.
yeah, I guess.
But again,
If
you just
anything,
relate less to that in
yeah,
general.
I mean, this actually like the thing that I think tends to improve my mood or my life is actually being like, "Oh, I should probably do something different."
Hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So those are things about being an INTP that I relate to that Renee is like, "Mhm."
Yeah.
There are also things about Renee and Renee's life that I don't directly connect to. So one is that you like relate a lot to control and chaos, and specifically
Chaos.
chaos like being a freak out.
Yeah. One of the things I have talked about in a video of all the interviews and videos and all the things that I made is like I literally have panic attacks when I have to go like pack for a trip and like literally until we get there and it's over and I don't have to think about like the traveling and the GPS and where is the address and did I wear something comfortable or am I gonna be hot or am I don't know. All of those things and like preparing and not being prepared is such a huge burden for me. Um and whereas like he's worried about like the group casting him out, I'm like literally things might kill me. Like I am so so concerned about. I don't even like. I keep wanting to like not even mention it because it
Mm,
stresses me out.
yeah,
Yeah, and then one of my strengths,
yeah,
well, and even Steve, because I'm like, am I not good at this? Now I'm like doubting everything. Is I tend to be pretty much everyone in my lives, like confidant and person that they go to for advice and comfort. And I think I give people a lot of uh, warmth, guidance, emotional support. And like I said before, it's almost to the extent that I take on too much stuff and I've had to work on not being completely um, consumed by that. And yeah, if you actually, when I got this type, one of my best friends, I was like, listen, am I exactly like Steve? And he was like, no, because Steve is like not about people and kind of like perturbs people with logic, and you're like warm and like the leader of the group and make everyone feel comfortable. Because I'm a theater director, and
yeah.
a lot of that is handling people's emotions and regulating everyone's emotions. And
Making everybody
not
feel good
only,
about what you're doing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and not only am I like actively doing that, it's that everyone asks me to do it.
yeah.
It's like, we're having a problem with this person. Will you go do that, Renee? And it is not a problem for me. Like, it doesn't stress me out. It's actually a fun game to play for me. I like dealing with other people's problems. Like I just said, like I get overwhelmed with it, but that's when it's a lot of people.
Mm.
And I forget to have like some self-care. But all in all,
Confronting
I'm like,
people.
ooh, this is a fun challenge for me to see
Yeah.
if I can like tell this person they're being a jerk without
Yeah.
them actually thinking that and correct someone's behavior without them figuring it out. Like that's my jam.
Yeah. Confronting someone on another person's behalf is not intimidating to you.
No, I love it.
And
I
to me, an INTP with 4 FE, that sounds like hell.
I feel so flattered when people come to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was almost going to say when you're talking generally, but you brought it back around. You are a theater director.
Yeah.
Like it is your job to guide people thematically into what the group needs to do to achieve a feeling. But it's also important to note that like you end up giving people life direction when you're just talking to them, and that's not even just since you've been a theater director. That has happened since you've been a theater director that, friends are like, oh, I don't know, things aren't going too well at work. And then you're like, listen, it sounds to me like this is going on and you're not feeling this and you need to find something that makes you feel
Yeah.
like this. But even before you were a theater director, I remember you telling me about people in high school who would come to you with their problems and just like you were the person they
Yeah.
felt comfortable talking to about that for some reason. And even though that's obviously burdensome to a degree, you still mostly felt honored that they would share that with
Yeah.
you and you felt like you wanted to take care
If
of them.
anything, it didn't really become a burden until my adult life because
Yeah.
people really hang on to their relationship with me. And I'm also like that too, where I feel like endlessly loyal to someone. This is kind of off track, but like, yeah, I don't remember what I was gonna say specifically.
Yeah,
People
when you have
people like me and then they hang on, and sometimes those people are kind of toxic or
yeah.
dealing with problems that I can't really help them with
Yeah.
anymore.
If
Yeah.
they need professional help or they need specific help in their life. And the thing is also, like, I can't stress enough, like, it's so many people. It's so many people. Like, I could, off the top of my head, fill up all my fingers with just people that I can think
Yeah.
of off the top of my head.
I
Won't do it
also
for
make groups
confidentiality
like
reasons.
I create a lot of community and
Yeah.
I'm usually like at the core. Like I have a book club and I coach and I'm a part of a lot of improv teams where I feel like I say the glue person. I say that about some other people in my life
Mm.
too. But so now I've been like, is this an illusion and I'm bad at this and I'm overcompensating and I'm peacocking? Um, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Um, so the hat doesn't fit is kind of the
The hat doesn't seem to
conclusion.
fit.
I mean, I would go as far to say as the hat does not fit, which
Mm.
like you also are more concerned about maintaining um like community unity when it comes to I guess there's like a politeness and
I look for ways to not confront.
yeah,
I look
Steve
for
does
ways
not
that we
want to
can handle it
confront.
indirectly.
Like I would have made this video long ago and just kind of bitched. Like but um yeah, you don't want to
Want to
get the
do the due
hate.
diligence.
I'm like if you like if anyone is a hater in the comments, I'm like this is probably kind of fun for me, but that is not fun for him.
But you
Like
are free to comment.
but you're free to comment and you're free to think that I'm an INTP or anything else. I don't really care
And we're
because
curious about
I've been
that.
dealing with this for months now.
And we're curious about that. Please do comment if Renee did something that you're like, yeah, that's such an INTP thing that she did. That's such an NITE thing that she did. Or other components of objective personality that you're aware of.
Yeah.
Or if you think she did a thing that's like, she sounds pretty INFJ, here's why,
Or
write that
anything
too.
else.
Or if it's a completely different type, let us know because we're curious because as Renee said, the hat of FFTINE CPBS does not
Oh,
seem to fit.
yeah.
So maybe a different hat. Let us know what you think.
What hat should I wear? A sombrero? A fedora? A Santa hat? I knew he was gonna know that I was gonna make that joke because it's really dorky, and so I'm making it now. What hat?
Thanks for watching. Leave us some comments to let
Yeah.
us know what you think Renee's type is. Look out here for other videos about being an INTP, about objective personality, about MBTI, and about my thoughts in general, I suppose. And maybe you'll see more of Renee as we explore her type.
Who am I?
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.